Hello everyone and welcome back to Celtic Fans TV. It's time for Celtic Transfer Weekly episode number 4. We're nearly at the end of the window and it's the episode that you didn't know you were waiting for. It's the two Celtic YouTube heavyweights.
That's it.
Joined by Ryan118. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing well, thank you for having me on the channel. Great pleasure, so looking forward to doing the whole thing. It's nice being in a studio, you know, it's different to just my wee bedroom, so I like it, good change.
So let's take a look at what's coming up this week. Right, here we go. Transfer shootout. 5 quick fire questions.
I'm ready. It's got to be Henrik Larsson. If we're talking ever, Henrik Larsson, no question. What was I fear actually? Dirk Berigtor. I'm going for Dirk Berigtor. Well, there's not many great non-Scottish players in it, so a non-foreign player probably. Victor Wanyama. I'm being selfish for just going for personal love, but I've got to say Artur Boruc.
Right.
I've got to take Artur Boruc back.
Right, so it's time to crack on with the discussion. One more thing we're going to do though is set a like target. We've not done this before. So hit the thumbs below. We're looking for 500. That should be easy enough.
I think that's respectable.
Isn't it?
A respectable number. I mean, if we're getting, you know, 2 people here, or they combined, definitely.
Between the two is, we should be able to get 500. Yeah. So we're going for 500. Don't forget to hit the thumbs. Right, Ryan, so let's crack on then.
Let's do it.
Don't want to spend too much time on the business we've already done because we've spoke about it at length already, but what do you make of the business so far?
Well, initially, at the start of the window, I was very happy to see the signings come in, good signings, but it's been disappointing that we've not strengthened the defence in the way I thought we would have. I guess there's still time to go, a few days, and there's been talk about players finalising deals and such. I'm not going to be pernickety about it because I still think we've got a team that's capable of winning the title and such, but I mean, I think there's still a bit to be done defensively, so it's a bit mixed right now for me.
Absolutely, I think that's how most people feel. I don't know if you've seen the Green Brigade banner yesterday, I'm sure you did.
I've not actually seen it, no. I've not seen it, no. I sit just above the Green Brigade, right, so I can never see the banners. Below, yeah. And then I was walking straight after the game, so I've not had seen anything for social media or anything like that, so I've not seen it, but enlighten me on it.
Well, it was 10 in a row is not a project, back Rodgers or lose him. So
right. I've seen similar kind of things in the past, for social media and that.
I asked, speaking to people in full-time reaction yesterday, most people are like, I totally agree. They need to back them. I think the consensus is maybe a wee bit of discontent, whether it's carrying on for the summer or it's just a general, like I've mentioned before, I think Brendan Rodgers is begrudgingly accepting the way that Celtic handle transfers. But there was a couple of people yesterday who were like, do you know, clubs run well, fair enough, I don't think we need too much more, we've got enough as you just said, to win the league and whatever. So do you think this sort of discontent with the fans is an overreaction, or do you think it's merited now?
I think there can definitely be an overreaction. You know, sometimes I scroll through Twitter and I see people's opinions and such. I'm like, right, taking it too far here. Look, we've come off the back of 2 fantastic seasons. The squad is still very, very strong. A lot of good players in there. I think there can definitely be I can understand, you know, the anger and the frustration that we're no spending millions left, right, and centre. And then you see other teams in the league improve while we keep basically the same team. So I do understand the frustration, but you've got to remember this is a very successful side. You know, it would be nice to have a new right back, a new centre back, blah blah blah. But I think sometimes a lot of fans do overreact. I think the thing about the banner and such, the Green Brigade, I can see. It's a hard one to say if it's an overreaction, because as I say, I'm very 50-50 on it. I like that. I like the team we've got, but we do need extra signings. But you know, if we brought in one right back, I think everybody, or like one centre back, just to please everybody, then I think everything would change. So I think it is a slight overreaction, if you ask me.
I think you're right there. See, I think the right back position is one that we've known for ages. We need. I said yesterday in some of the content, it feels like we're constantly coming back to like Kane, Lustig, and it seems no fair, and a lot of people. Again, I seen a guy on Twitter this morning like, oh, it's these fans that are just getting on his back every week, like maybe you just need some support, and what kind of supporters is that, like to be abusing him every week? And it's not anything personal. Realistic, he's been brilliant for us. He's been absolutely brilliant.
I mean, he spent how many years at the club?
7-8 years.
2011 or something like that. He's won all sorts. I really respected player.
So it's nothing personal, but I think even with Alston in there, who's good, but is he what we need when we come into Europe?
Exactly.
And we're going to come up against Valencia next couple of weeks. So I just think we need strengthening there. But as you say, I think if we just in this last week or so went and got a right back, you can see the ticker, by the way, should be up by now. Robert Gumney for like Poznan, so we got somebody like that. I think they're talking 4 or 5 million.
He was meant to move to Borussia Mönchengladbach a couple of years ago, and the deal fell through. So I mean, if he was, I'd imagine he'd be a good enough player for Celtic if he's getting linked to a top Bundesliga side. So
you think so? Young as well, but as you say, I just think if we went and spent the money and got a right back in, when you think about the business we've already done, we will be satisfied.
Exactly. I think that's what it takes. I think we hear the frustrations and the cries and such of the fans, but if we went out, we made just that one signing and even spent a couple, and I think it would only take a right back, and I think everybody would say, right, that's us. I think everybody would be happy, honestly. I mean, because we've made 3 good attacking signings, and I think if we made that one extra defensive sign, I think everybody would be pleased.
Absolutely, I think. Obviously, there's issues at centre half that are going to come up in the summer with Boyata leaving, Benkovic going back, but I think that is all we're looking for. I think the fans just want to see the area that we need. Well, it's right back this time. It might be centre half in the summer, but they just want to see 4 or 5 million. Just go and get the right guy. Because I think with the loan deals and things like that, people
just frustration
begin to think why we develop our teams players, and it's just short term.
It feels like you're in that same kind of cycle. Every 6 months you're coming in and you're like, right, we need to get this position again, we need to get this position again. So I can understand that side of it, but I mean, they're good signings, these loan signings as well, and if they're going to improve the team for like 6 months and get through these hard games, we'll see where things take us. We could get them permanently, I suppose. I don't see so much where, but I mean, God knows, we might get Burke eventually on a permanent transfer. Just it's only time will tell, isn't it? That's the way it goes.
That's it. Brendan Rodgers said this week, I don't know if you've seen his comments about Lee Congerton.
I've not seen the comments on Congerton.
And backed him. Not backed him, he just said like he's been in the game a long time. He is identifying players. Whether the club can afford them or not, it's another issue. So where do you think, obviously Lee Congerton's coming in for a lot of stick. Where do you think the responsibility lies? See if you were to split it, say take 100%, what percentage do you lie at the manager's door, the recruitment, the board?
Well, I think if you ask it, if you were to take a general consensus for like every Celtic fan, I think you're going to find a lot of it sitting on the board's door. I think you're going to see a lot of it there. Lee Congerton, I don't look into too much of his own work, and I know through his career he's worked at teams and he's had a lot of criticism through the clubs he's worked at for a lot of the signings he's made. And since he's came to Celtic, I guess the recruitment's been kind of hit and miss. We've made some good signings, we've made some pointless signings, like the likes of Gamboa, who's came in and he's not played at all, and there's been a few pointless ones. I think ultimately everybody has to share a bit of the blame, but the easy way to go is say, the board aren't willing to put in the proper investment to bring in the names who are probably priorities. I imagine Congerton and Rodgers sit down and they probably have the players who they'd ideally like to bring in, but I can't say I don't work in the Celtic board. I don't know what happens behind the scenes, but I can only imagine that Peter Lawwell's not too keen on spending money on £8 million, £10 million players. So I can only imagine if you were to split it 100%, you're looking at the majority, 60-70% of it being on the board's door. But the recruitment could be better, ultimately. There could probably be a list of better targets. But it just comes back to the same thing as I always say. It's hard to recruit at Celtic when you're right beside your neighbour in a league which people are far happier to go and play for the likes of Brighton. It's just, it's annoying and it shouldn't be the case, but people are going to pick a team like Brighton or Celtic in the year 2018 purely for money reasons, everything else. So it's hard. Ultimately, it probably is more like the board, in my opinion, but I guess there is a kind of shared responsibility in there.
Definitely. I think what we see is we only see like we see hardly anything.
Aye.
We don't know how it works behind the scenes. Obviously,
I feel like Celtic are also a club that keep it really quiet as well. Like, you know, you see the teams in England and everything's out in the open about the board and really quiet here.
I think that's how Celtic like to run things, to keep things quiet. So that means that, I mean, not a lot of people know. It's all speculation about how good Lee Congerton's doing. I mean, we won't hear about the targets that he says. If he's got a list of targets and then we don't get them, we probably don't hear about half of them.
He could have a list of players who, you know, every Celtic fan's dreaming of saying, you know, football manager will bring him in and all that. He could have a full list, but
if we're not willing to pay the money,
I'm never going to know.
Absolutely. So it's a hard one to really pinpoint where the problems lie. But as you say, I agree that it's probably 60-70% on the board. Just on that, and I don't want to come back to talking about the banner yesterday, but do you think that there is any chance that Brendan Rodgers might be looking at going elsewhere in the summer or calling time?
I think there's...
Just in relation to the transfer stuff?
I think there's always, I mean, granted, any team in the upper half of the English Premier League could probably double his wages, you know, so there's always going to be that possibility, you know. All it takes is for Brendan Rodgers to go, this is the best move for me, my family, I'm going to take it. But I'm under full faith that he'll stay here for the 10 in a row and finish it. Like, maybe after that he will leave, maybe he'll stay, who knows, but I think he'll try his best to stay for that. Purely because I don't see why he would. I just don't see many teams in England, and obviously the wages is a big part. No matter who you are, the wages is, you know, if somebody can double your wages, it doesn't matter how much you support a club with that. It's like it's a big career thing. But there's no many teams in England that I'd honestly feel like Brendan Rodgers would say, this is worth the move, right? You know, you hear Leicester looking at him. I mean, hopefully, and it's more. What's the word? Hopeful than anything. Hopefully, just sits there and says, "I'd rather stay here, make history with Celtic," and then somebody in England will still be of interest. Because if he wins a 10 in a row here, there's still going to be teams interested in him there. So hopefully, he just sees at the time. I've got faith he will stay. He said it. He signed the contract. Unless, you know, a Man United or if Liverpool came calling him, I think he'll stay for at least, you know, the next 2 or 3 years.
I agree. I think. Well, I hope, like you say, it's maybe more than hope than expectation. But he signed the contract, and I think he's created a lot of history already. And to be the manager that does 10 in a row is a massive. That'd be a massive achievement for him. In an ideal world, would be seeing a, you know, Ferguson type reign, then stand named after him. And I mean, you can only hope. Because I still think that he's far too good to be managing Scotland. Like, we're so fortunate to have him, and that's not to say that he's never made any mistakes. He makes mistakes a lot, every manager does. Every manager makes mistakes. But he's the best coach that Celtic could attract. I don't think we could.
I mean, no much better. Like, even when you were in that hiring process when Rodgers first came in, there was like when I heard Brendan Rodgers' name being even linked to the job, I was like, well, that's the top one there. Like, there's no many better options than that.
I remember when Ronnie Dyler left where I worked, the guy at the office was a big Celtic man in the system, who do you think will be next? And he said, well, big man, if I could have my choice, it would be Brendan Rodgers. And I said, that's who I would have, but come on, I know, we're not going to get Brendan Rodgers, are we?
It was not expected, especially after a manager like Ronnie Dyler. No disrespect to Ronnie Dyler, of course, but I mean, after that, you're like, right, we can't take that big a jump, surely, like, stay on a similar level of gradual rise, but build up. So, on that basis, I think he signed the contract, and as long as he feels that there's still work to be done from here, I expect him to stay as well. So, we'll move on to Marian Shved. That's one that's came up this week. It looks like we're going to sign him. Brendan Rodgers obviously made the comment about we don't need a million wingers, and said that he doesn't necessarily know a lot about the boy. It seems like the club have done themselves, if you like, but no manager has 100% say over transfers anymore. That's not how it works. Yeah, clubs have directors of football, and the boards just like to take the reins route of things. So so I don't know if you've seen any YouTube clips of him or any videos. I've not watched anything on him. No.
Winger, as we've
I
said.
looked at a brief kind of wee profile of him.
Young winger, looks like the kind of profile that we've been going for. So, see, just on the million wingers though, this is what I thought when I heard. It's a strange comment because I don't think we do have a million wingers. We've got guys like Morgan, who looks like he's going to get out on loan. We've got Johnson, who's still developing.
It's a long way to go.
But other than Forrest and Sinclair, obviously Burks came in. That's a short-term loan deal though, and he's played up front in his 2 starts. So I don't think we've necessarily got a million wingers. Like I know it looks like the boy's going to go out on loan when he comes in. But I think that's where permanent signings could really help us get some depth in that area.
Like the thing that I think the squad has been crying out for in the last, it's been shown in the last kind of year or so, is depth. I think with the amount of games that we're getting asked to play, and especially at the start of the seasons when you've got the qualifiers and such, depth is needed. And we have quality wingers in Sinclair and Forrest, but like you see, when yesterday I think was a good example, when Forrest was dropped and they played Johnson on that right hand side. Johnson's still got a long way to go. A long way to go, and don't get me wrong, he's had a few good performances, he's scored some good goals, but he's nowhere near ready to come in and play on a weekly basis, I think, yet for Celtic. So I can see what Brendan Rodgers is speaking for when he says, we've got a million wingers, blah blah. I think maybe ideally he's thinking like us, let's improve in defence, but no, I mean, if you're seeing Weah and Buck go at the end of the season, then I don't see what the big issue is with having another attacking player in there who, maybe it'll be as exciting to watch as say what Patrick Roberts was as a player who I deeply miss. So I mean, I'd like to see a player like him come back in, just a wee bit of flair on the side, and maybe it'll just be a wee bit of motivation as well.
Absolutely, I deeply miss Roberts as well. I think it's just he offered something different in terms of. I think Forrest is really direct. Roberts had like a lot of tricks. He was flair, got fans off their seats. Really helped unlock defences, and that's something we maybe lack now. We've got, I think Sinclair's direct, I think Forrest is direct, Bucklett's direct. I think Roberts offered something different, so hopefully Shved is in that mould. Just to finish us up then, what do you think it is that Celtic need to take them to the next level? If you not in this transfer window, but just generally, what do you think it is we need to well, first of all, what do you think the next level is? Do you think the next level is obviously getting back to the group stages of the Champions League, having missed out this year, competing in the group stages? Do you see it that do you think there's still this is still a day where we could see Celtic in the last 16 again, or do you think we should be looking at the last 16 in the Europa League? What do you think that next level is?
Well, the first things first is get back to the group stage of the Champions League. That's the main thing. That's got to be on the agenda every year. I was so surprised that we didn't make it this year when Athens put us out. But apart of that, and that's insanely obvious. So after that, where do you go? I mean, in this day and age, it is just, we all know it's so difficult to compete with the likes of Barcelona, PSG, teams like that. We can't exactly expect to compete with them, but to see us back in the last 16 of the Champions League, ultimately, for me, is where I just like to see Celtic be again. That'll be hard, won't be easy by any means, but if we can get there, I'd be a very happy man.
Absolutely, I think the Champions League's a dreamland, isn't it? That's where everybody wants to be. That's where the money is. But I think when you look at, like you've said there, the pot 2 teams, like you're guaranteed 2 pot 1 teams basically, because the standard of pot 2 these days is just unbelievable. So
I mean, it takes a lot. There's a lot on the other side of it as well. I mean, politically, you could go right into it and say UEFA just need to sort out the whole competition, but we just know it's not going to happen. So I mean, we may as well deal with that reality.
They're only interested in the biggest fixtures in it. They're only interested in the money. So they're not going to get that with the champions of Bulgaria and Poland and all that straight in the group stages. So, but as you say, I think we just need a couple of bits of quality. When you think about the games, like you've mentioned Bayern Munich there, and I know we've taken some absolute batterings in the Champions League as well. But you think about the performance against Bayern Munich, as you said, Zenit, the Leipzig performance this year. That's where you see we can still compete. But to do it more consistently, we're just lacking. Maybe, as you said, 2 or 3 quality players.
Maybe a wee bit of experience in there, just some flair, some quality. Just 2 players could even make a whole difference. You just look at some performances on the night and go, if he wasn't there, if that never happened, it could change everything.
If we just did that wee bit more, like I think the playing under pressure thing as well is big for us, because the way we play when we go into the Champions League, we need to be able to play under a press. We need to be able to play out, and even just a couple of bits of quality would make a massive difference for that.
Definitely.
So that's all we've got time for this week. Ryan, tell these guys where they can find you if they haven't found you already. Let's be honest.
Well, if you haven't found me, Ryan118 on YouTube and Ryan Stephen F on Twitter. Feel free to follow and subscribe. Greatly appreciated. Make sure it's up to you.
Absolutely, we'll link it up in the description as well. I'm sure these are already all over Ryan's content. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe. We will be back probably 1st or 2nd of February to sum up the transfer window. Let's hope we get a right back in before then, and we'll see you at Celtic Park on Wednesday. There's that many games now. I'm just losing track.
It's unbelievable. I didn't even realise there was a game this Wednesday. I was like, well, that come from? I was just flying everywhere.
So we'll see you at Celtic Park on Wednesday against St Johnstone. Thank you.